Well, as you can see, our community garden has really taken off, and it's just beautiful. It's just amazing to see how much has grown in this place. It all started with a planting party. Kids and adults and parents came and they planted the plants that were here, and then it's been watered so that we're making sure that it gets everything it needs. And then this part happened. And I was thinking about that this week, and I know the process of making a garden. Again, you got to plant, you got to water, but then this magic part happens. And so I was thinking about that, and I was wondering, how does that part happen? I mean, I know how to plan the garden part, and I know how to plan the watering part, but how does the growing part happen? And I was thinking about it, and it's got to be by sheer strong will, right? That's what happens. You got these little seeds in there, you got these little plants in there, and they just by their own will, by their own personal seed effort, by their training process that they go through so that they learn how to grow, by the commitment that they have to produce these vegetables. That's how the process happens, right? Through personal effort, training, and a commitment towards produce, right? Well, no. Now, I'm not a farmer. I don't know a lot about agriculture, but I do know this. We plant, we water, and then the growth happens. And this example of how that happens is actually a really important biblical image of how personal faith growth happens as well. So in the letter that the Apostle Paul wrote to the church in Corinth, they had been going through some major struggles. I mean, there was a lot of division that was going on in this church. And in one part, a lot of the struggle was because people had aligned themselves with particular teachers. And so there's this one part in the very beginning of the first letter that we have to the church in Corinth, where Paul is talking about the divisions that are going on within the church. And, of course, Paul was the one that kind of started the church, but then there were other people who came along and did a lot of teaching during that time. And what was happening within these divisions was people were aligning themselves with a particular teacher or someone that had helped them along the way. And so as Paul is talking, he says in chapter 3, beginning at verse 5, he's talking about Apollos, who is one of the ones who came along and added to what Paul did. And a lot of people were aligning themselves with Apollos. He says this. He says, "What then is Apollos? What is Paul? Servants through whom we came to believe, as the Lord assigned to each." And then he says this. He said, "I planted, Apollos watered, but God gave the growth. So it is neither the one who plants nor the one who waters who is anything, but only God who gives growth." Well, this is what I was thinking about when I was looking at this garden. And I know that for many of us, there are people that we can think of. There are individuals who we know as the one who planted the seed of faith within us. Maybe it was a youth pastor, could have been our parents, a relative who taught us what it meant to be a Christian. Those are the people that kind of planted that seed within us. And then there are people who came along to kind of nurture that growth for us, or that seed that was in us. And they are the ones who kind of watered that faith that was there. But when it comes to the actual growth part, it's neither the person that planted, nor is it the person who kind of watered our faith to make sure it had the nutrients that it needed, but it's God who creates the growth. And sometimes for me, and maybe this is true with you as well, there's those periods of time where I kind of feel like I'm a bit distant from God, like my growth has kind of stagnated, and I find that while I have the seed of faith there, and while I know what I need to do to bring the nurturing of that faith into play, for whatever reason, I find myself stagnant. Growth isn't happening. So what do I need to do? Is it going to be my willpower that's going to make me grow again? Is it going to be some kind of extra training that I need to do in order to get myself ready to grow again? Is it going to be some kind of commitment towards wanting to produce something as a Christian? I think a lot of times that's what people think they need to do in order to in order to grow in their faith. But when you look at Scripture, really, what it takes is making sure we're constantly connected with God who brings us growth. Jesus taught that to his disciples. He talked about how if we become disconnected, then we stop growing. He talks about, I am the vine and you are the branches. This image of being connected with God, that when we are connected to the person of Christ within us, that's what helps us begin to grow. Maybe what I need to do is be reminded of that, so that I recognize that the whole growth process has more to do with me spending time with the one who created me. By me spending time in the Word and allowing that Word to begin to be nurtured inside of me, by me spending time going to God in worship and just sitting in silence, readying myself for God to create that growth that needs to happen within me. Now, if you are part of the Brighton Church here, if you ever pass by this, maybe take a look at this garden and look at what's here. Give thanks for the people that planted it. Give thanks for those who water it and nurture it. But remember to give thanks to the God who created the growth that made all of this possible.